It was the kind of night that started like any other, the kind where nothing seems out of place. But as I sit here, reflecting on everything that went wrong, I realize how one small decision, the decision to let her go, was the moment our world started falling apart. We had been married for over a decade, and by all outward appearances, we had a good life. A comfortable house, 2 kids, and the kind of routine many people envy. But like any long-term relationship, the cracks had started to show. At first, they were easy to ignore: the late nights at work, the occasional silence at dinner, the moments when it felt like we were 2 strangers just sharing a roof. It wasn't anything dramatic, just the slow drift that happens when familiarity replaces passion. But things were different now. The distance between us had grown more noticeable. There were whispers in the back of my mind, little doubts that I pushed aside. Had she stopped loving me? Or was I just too caught up in my own world to notice? I never wanted to confront the reality that we might be slowly fading away from each other. It was one of those quiet evenings when she casually dropped the bombshell. "I'm meeting Raj tonight. Just for dinner," she said, glancing at me as if it was no big deal. Raj was an old colleague, a friend from her previous job, someone I had never been particularly fond of. He was charming, a little too charming, and I knew how friendly he could be. But she reassured me. "It's nothing. Just a quick dinner. You know how it is." And just like that, it happened. A simple date, a casual, innocent dinner, was about to set the stage for everything to fall apart. I didn't want to make a scene. We had been through our share of arguments, but this one felt different. I told myself it was no big deal. "You trust her, right?" I asked myself. Of course, I did. At least, I wanted to. The idea of her going out with Raj gnawed me, but I tried to suppress the rising feelings of jealousy and insecurity. She'll be fine, I thought. She's not the type to do something crazy. But I was lying to myself. Deep down, I felt something shifting. There was a part of me that didn't want to admit it, but I was scared. I was scared that this simple dinner might be the start of something more. I knew that trust, once broken, never healed the same way. But I couldn't bring myself to stop her. I watched her get ready. She looked beautiful, like she always did, but tonight something felt different. She was putting on that smile, the one that I knew all too well. It was the kind of smile that meant everything was fine, but deep down, I wondered if she was hiding something. The way she talked about Raj, the way her eyes lit up when she mentioned his name, it made me uneasy, but I kept quiet. I said goodbye to her at the door, feeling that strange mix of love and doubt swirling in my chest. "Have fun," I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice betrayed me. There was a crack in it that I couldn't hide. "Don't wait up for me," she said with a wink, slipping out the door. And that was it. A simple date. A casual dinner. Nothing special. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. But as soon as the door closed behind her, a storm began brewing inside me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I tried to distract myself with work, with the kids, but my mind kept going back to her, to Raj, to the quiet conversations they must be having right now. The more I thought about it, the worse it got. The sinking feeling in my stomach wouldn't go away. I kept asking myself, was this just a dinner? Or was something far worse happening that I wasn't ready to face? The hours dragged on, and I couldn't focus on anything. The house felt empty, too quiet without her. The kids were in bed, and I was left alone with my thoughts, letting them spiral out of control. Was she really just having dinner with Raj? Or was this something more? I tried to push those thoughts away, but they kept coming back. Around 9:30 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend, Akash. "Hey, I saw your wife with Raj at Café de la Rue tonight. Everything all right?" My heart dropped into my stomach. I had told myself that I was being paranoid, but seeing this text confirmed my fears. I had never liked the guy, and the way he always lingered around her, the way his eyes followed her, it all came rushing back to me. Akash must have misunderstood, right? Maybe they were just talking. Maybe it was nothing. But even as I thought that, I knew it wasn't true. I dialed her number. It rang and then went to voicemail. My stomach churned, and I couldn't stop the thoughts racing through my head. Was she lying to me? Why wasn't she answering? The doubt crept in, slowly at first, but now it was like a storm ready to tear everything apart. 10 minutes later, she called back. "Hey, I'm just finishing up," she said, her voice calm. "I'll be home soon." "Did Akash see you?" I asked, unable to keep the tension out of my voice. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Yes, but it's not what you think. He saw us talking, that's all. Nothing more." But the tone of her voice, the way she spoke so quickly, made me question everything. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but that nagging feeling wouldn't go away. I couldn't help but imagine them laughing, sharing a moment, the kind of closeness I hadn't felt with her in a while. And it hurt. It hurt more than I was willing to admit. I hung up the phone, my mind a whirlwind of doubt and frustration. The clock was ticking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I paced the living room, my thoughts spiraling further into darkness. Why was she acting so calm? Was she trying to cover something up? Then it hit me, the small details that didn't add up. She hadn't mentioned Raj's intentions in detail, hadn't mentioned if they were just having dinner or something more casual. Why did she seem so eager to brush it off? The jealousy and anger that had been simmering for hours finally exploded. I had to know. I had to find out for myself what was really going on. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but my mind was no longer rational. I grabbed her phone from the kitchen counter. The feeling of betrayal washed over me as I unlocked it with the code she had never changed. Every message, every notification felt like it was mocking me. Was I really so blind? Was I really this foolish to let my wife slip away without noticing? I opened her messages, and there they were, texts between her and Raj. Flirty messages, pictures of them smiling together, inside jokes that I had never been a part of. It wasn't just a dinner. It was something more, something I wasn't prepared for. I felt like the walls were closing in around me. Every word, every smile between them felt like a slap in the face. How long had this been going on? Was I just too trusting, too naive? Or had I pushed her away so much that she felt the need to seek comfort somewhere else? As the rage bubbled inside me, I realized one thing. The person I had trusted most, the person I thought I knew better than anyone, had kept this secret from me. And now, I didn't know who she was anymore. I couldn't wait any longer. I was done with waiting and wondering. I needed answers, and I needed them now. The silence between us stretched for what felt like an eternity. I could see her trying to say something, but the words just didn't come. She looked at me like she was searching for something, an answer, maybe, or some way to fix everything that had gone wrong. But the truth was, I didn't know if it could be fixed. I wanted to believe her, I really did. But the things I had seen, the way everything had fallen apart in the blink of an eye, it felt like something inside me had broken beyond repair. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I never meant to hurt you. It just happened." I laughed bitterly, but it wasn't a real laugh. "You're sorry? You're sorry for what? For breaking my trust? For making me feel like I was nothing more than an idiot who couldn't see what was right in front of him?" Her face crumpled, and I could see the tears welling up in her eyes, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. The pain I was feeling was too raw, too fresh. I wanted to hug her, to tell her that everything would be okay, but I couldn't, because I didn't know if it would be. "I never meant for it to go this far," she continued, her voice trembling. "But Raj, he made me feel alive again. And I lost sight of what really mattered." I recoiled slightly. "So, this was my fault? Is that what you're saying? You lost sight of what mattered because of me?" "No, Vicky," she said quickly, shaking her head. "It's not your fault. It's just, we've drifted so far apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. Raj was there when I needed someone to talk to, and you crossed the line, I finished for her, my voice sharper than I intended. You don't get to blame me for this, Mira. I didn't force you to do anything. You chose this. Her lips trembled as she tried to hold back her tears. I know I messed up, but I still love you. I never stopped loving you. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. How could she say that? How could she tell me she loved me when she had been lying to me for weeks? Months? I didn't know anymore. I don't know what to believe anymore, I said, shaking my head. How am I supposed to trust you again after this? She reached out to me, her hand trembling. Please, Vicky. I know I've hurt you. But we can fix this. We can try. If you'll just let me. But I stepped back, my chest tight with pain. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can forgive you. She looked like I had slapped her, but I couldn't take it back. The doubt, the betrayal, it had taken root, and no amount of apologies could erase it. The love I had once felt for her was still there, buried beneath all the anger and hurt, but I didn't know if it was enough to rebuild everything we had lost. She stared at me for a long moment, and for a fleeting second, I saw the woman I had married, the one who had been my best friend, my partner. But then, just as quickly, that image faded, replaced by the stranger standing in front of me, the woman who had betrayed me in ways I couldn't fully comprehend. And that's when I realized it was over. The marriage I had spent years building, the life we had shared, had crumbled because of one night, one choice that had set everything into motion. The days that followed were a blur of silence, of empty conversations and awkward moments. We lived in the same house, but it felt like we were worlds apart. Every time I looked at her, I saw the betrayal in her eyes, and every time she looked at me, I saw the regret. But neither of us knew how to fix it. I tried to act normal for the kids, but it was impossible. How could I pretend like everything was fine when my heart was in pieces? The constant reminder of what had happened hung in the air, thick and suffocating. One evening, as I was sorting through some papers in the living room, I found something that made everything worse, a note, a letter that Mira had written to Raj. It wasn't just a friendly message, it was a confession. She had been torn between me and him for months, unsure of what she wanted, and now she had finally made a choice. The worst part? She had already planned to leave. I couldn't breathe as I read it. The words blurred in front of my eyes, but the message was clear. Mira had already decided that she wanted out. The realization hit me like a freight train. She had checked out long before I even knew there was a problem. And now, there was no going back. When she walked in and saw me holding the letter, she didn't need to ask what it was. The look on her face said it all. She had known it was only a matter of time before I found out. I was going to tell you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I didn't know how. Tell me? I repeated, the hurt and disbelief evident in my voice. You were going to tell me that you've already made your choice? That you were leaving me? She nodded, her eyes full of sorrow. I never wanted to hurt you. But I don't know how to fix this anymore. We've lost something, Vicky, something we can't get back. And with those words, everything came crashing down. It was over. The marriage I had believed in, the life I had worked so hard to build, was no more. I sat there in the silence, the weight of it all settling heavily on my chest. There would be no fixing this. There was no going back. As she packed her things, I couldn't bring myself to stop her. I couldn't bring myself to fight for something that had already slipped through my fingers. The love I had once thought was unbreakable was now nothing more than a distant memory. I didn't know where we went wrong. Maybe it was the distance that had been growing between us for years, or maybe it was the lies that both of us had been too afraid to admit. But whatever it was too late now. I watched as she left, and for the first time, I felt completely and utterly alone. The nightmare had become my reality, and now I had to face the aftermath. Was it worth it? I'll never know. But I do know this, a simple dinner, one small choice, had torn apart everything I thought I knew. And now, I had to learn how to live with the consequences.